At Starbucks, we offer full and part-time baristas 100% upfront college tuition coverage, which means they can thrive at our company and in class. At Starbucks, benefits like college tuition coverage are just the start.
This episode is brought to you by GMC. GMC certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Let us do the work. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit gmc.com/service to learn more.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
In 2013, one film showed us that it's okay to be really good at being really bad. It's okay to not be okay until, of course, you turn jumping the shark into an Olympic sport. Grab a chainsaw and machine gun. It's time to begin a 4-week journey into the hellscape as we attempt to prove that Sharknado 3, oh hell no, is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Lehi, Utah, and around the world. How are you doing? You know, we've done a lot of dumbass things on this show, but this might be one of the dumbest, because we are working our way towards Shark Week by tackling every single Sharknado movie that qualifies for our podcast. And if you've been listening to the show long enough, you know that a movie qualifies by having a less than 60% score on Rotten Tomatoes' famous tomatometer, which means that 4 out of the 6 movies, and right now everyone's going, holy crap, there are 6 Sharknado films. Yes, there are 6 Sharknado films. 4 of them qualify. The first 2 actually don't, surprisingly. So we're going to start our journey with Sharknado 3, oh hell no. And here to join me, oh hell yes, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
Aw, I'm doing great. Thanks for that.
So now I'm going to ask you, because we kind of stumbled on to Sharknado on a rando night because they were on one of the movie networks, and you're like, why the hell not? Let's start watching this. And then we came up with this really dumbass idea. Why do you, my lovely wife Carrie, my co-host, why do you let me utter ideas and then go along with them? Because you know I'm full of bad ideas.
You keep saying it's a dumb idea. Now, first of all, I believe we watched this as a lark.
As a complete lark.
I think we started somewhere around 4.
Yeah, like halfway through 4, and then we watched like 5 and 6. We're like, we should do this. And then we realized what we were signing up for. Man, you know, there's a shirt out there that says, that's a horrible idea. What time? I feel like I need to buy you that shirt.
You know what? I'm totally down for this. Like, we literally jumped into the shark pond with both arms still attached. And legs.
Yeah. So from here and for the next 3 weeks afterwards, it's going to be Sharknado after Sharknado after Sharknado after Sharknado, with the last one landing right on what would be Shark Week. But we have to start with number 3. But before we get this journey started, it is time to take the 3rd installment of the sharkiest shark fest that ever sharked and trailerize.
Enter a world where sharks fall from the sky, science and physics fall by the wayside, and somehow Mark Cuban being president is the most believable thing. After 2 servings of shark fin soup, the asylum unleashes another attack on our senses and sanity with Sharknado 3. Oh, hell no. This time, Finn Shepard is trying to make his way from Washington to Orlando, but standing in his way is a series of CGI nightmares. They're not scary, they're just bad. Along the way, he'll save Nova, save the Daytona Speedway, fly a fighter jet, go to space, and anything else this fever dream of a script has him do. All the while, his pregnant wife April hangs out at Universal with her Skywalker robot hand and nagging mother. It's a script that needs a serious supply of suds or buds to make sense. But hey, there's more cameos in this than a season of The Simpsons. Ian Ziering and Tara Reid star in Sharknado 3. Oh, hell no. Rated TV-14 for Tara's Vacation.
you had me at like the Anakin hand. Like I was like, oh no.
But the funny thing is, think about it, right? And this is where I'm actually going to start saying nice things about this franchise. They know exactly what they are, and they take a lot of their cues from modern pop culture. So, in saying that, we all know that Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, so it was the second movie that was released, part 5, but whatever, time is an illusion, lunchtime doubly so, Luke lost his hand. And ever since, franchises that want to, tip their hat to Star Wars have someone lose a limb in the second film of the series. Sharknado is that. Tara Reid lost her hand in Sharknado 2, a tip of the hat to The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mind blown. I honestly didn't put that together, but good. Good
right?
on them.
Okay, so let's get into who is in this film. The movie stars Ian Ziering, Tara Reid, Cassie Serbo, Bo Derek, Ryan Newman, Frankie Muniz, and David Hasselhoff, with a list of cameos that literally sounds like every single Comic-Con signing table. Mark Cuban, Ann Coulter, Mark McGrath, Chris Jericho, Neo, Maria Menounos, Lou Ferrigno, Lorenzo Lamas, Tim Russ, George R.R. Martin, Michael Winslow, Rick Fox, Penn and Teller, and Jackie Collins. And I know I haven't got all of them in there. They have the entire NBC morning show news team that's on there, and it's ridiculous. And yet, there's still an almost starring for this film because Mark Cuban was not always going to be the president in this film.
No, who was...
Originally, they had approached Sarah Palin to be the president, but they couldn't work it out. Now, I need to point out that this film came out in 2015. So when they then approached Donald Trump to be the president in this film, and then he had to back out because he was actually starting his own presidential run, they went to Mark Cuban. According to IMDb, there's also a rumor. There was an absolute rumor in this, and it's going to blow your mind. Apparently, rumored to be interested in a cameo for this film was Daniel Radcliffe.
Playing which character?
I don't know. It just would have been a cameo, but apparently it was rumored that he was interested in it.
Well, it makes sense. You want to have Harry Potter running around Universal.
Why not?
Fighting the Dementors, the sharks.
That would be brilliant. It would be fantastic if he was dressed up as someone who was cosplaying as Harry Potter in Universal.
Oh my God.
But I digress. This film also has a cast member change. In the first film, the role of Claudia, the daughter of Finn and April, was originally played by Aubrey Shea, but she couldn't do part 3, so her role got recast by Ryan Newman because Aubrey Peoples, was doing Gem and the Holograms, and we've covered that film. She was Gem. So Gem was originally Claudia in this series. The film had a budget of $2.4 million. Of course, like most asylum films, it was made for the Sci-Fi Network. However, there is a box office take for this film because it was released for 1 week in Jordan on the July 16th, 2015 weekend, where it landed in number 11 with a grand total of $1,677 across 2 theaters.
You know what I would love? You know how they do like the special events and the runs of movies? You know, they did Harry Potter, Star Wars,
Spider-Man, all that kind of
Lord
stuff.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I want to see this happen one day.
You know what the sad, stupid thing is? I'd be up for that. I would totally be up for that. And I would buy all the popcorn.
It would literally be just you and I in the theater.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think people would actually go see it. Can you imagine like a full-on starting at like dusk and then going all through the night, every single Sharknado film at a drive-in?
Oh, God. I was going to say, you know, we could totally do that. I mean, if we took a weekend and just watched our way through.
One day, all 6 movies, their brains melted.
Yeah. I can't say we would be able to form words at the end of it, but
we'd be sitting there on the couch going, Sharknado,
drooling in our popcorn bowl or something.
There were actually some accolades for this film. At the 2016 Saturn Awards, it was nominated for Best Presentation on Television, but lost to The Husbands of River Song, the episode of Doctor Who. At the 2016 Burbank International Film Festival, it won for Best Science Fiction Feature Film. And at the 2015 Blood Guts UK Horror Awards, it was nominated for Best Sequel, Prequel, or Remake, but lost to Mad Max Fury Road. But of course, the reason why we are here as we work our way towards Shark Week are the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer of 36% with a popcorn meter of 29%. At IMDb, it sits at a 4.1 out of 10 score for a 41%. At Letterboxd, it sits at 2.0 stars out of 5 for a 40% score. At the movie database, it's at 46%, and the film has a Metascore of 53, giving this film an aggravated aggregate of 40.83%. So it surprises me knowing that this franchise exists based on the fact of like when the first Sharknado came out, no one could stop talking about it. Like it was, everyone was just, this is the greatest, worst thing ever. It was almost like it was a modern day remake of The Room. That's how people kind of took to this. And now we're at the third one. So at a 40.83% aggregate score, how do you feel that stacks up for this film?
I just wonder where the third went wrong. Like the first 2 movies aren't even on our radar because they didn't qualify.
Right.
So here we are at the third, and I can just honestly say, because again, we jumped onto this train like around the 4th. So we kind of watched this in like Tarantino type.
Yeah, exactly.
Type order.
we literally pulled a Star Wars. We watched part 4, 5, and 6. Then we have to go back to the prequel.
Yeah. So I just like, why 3? Like at that point, it's like, is it my favorite? No. But as you mentioned in the trailerized, like we go everywhere in this one. We go from like Universal to the Speedway to outer space. Yeah. Like, and the White House. So
also, I can officially say this film has sharks in space.
Oh my God. I stand here saying this movie's got everything.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other toppings, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Well, we're about to find out what it has when it gets right down to it in the breakdown. We start, of course, with Ian Ziering, who played Finn Shepard. Your thoughts on him?
Well, you've come a long way from 90210 there, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Now battling sharks and being recognized by the President of the United States. Good on ya.
For your service in slaying sharks like no other can with a chainsaw. Like, really, when you think about the character of Finn Shepard and what he does, right? He's able to somehow stop all these Sharknadoes from happening and kills a lot of them with a freaking chainsaw. Like, this is the greatest parts of so many different franchises. Like, obviously, you've got the Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead kind of vibes with the chainsaw and whatnot. You have the absolute insanity of flying sharks in a tornado, which is just mind-blowingly. Like, think about when the first movie came out, right? People are sitting there going, what am I watching? And then the second one, it leaned into the camp. This franchise knows what it's doing because it leans into it. The lines that Finn has to say in this film, if you were to hand them to any human being who'd never heard of this franchise, they'd be like, people don't talk like this, do they? Like, imagine handing this script to an alien and going,
AI wrote this.
AI couldn't come up with something messed up with enough to come up with something like this.
You know what, though? He must know what he's doing because he survived, spoiler alert, how many shark attacks? And not just shark attacks, but a tornado of sharks.
Would you say there's a plethora of sharks?
It's almost like put, 2 of the world's greatest fears together. Tornadoes and shark attacks.
Right.
And let's make a movie about it.
But I think here's why I actually don't mind this franchise. And bear with me on this one. Because I'm going to draw a parallel that there's no way anyone in their right mind is going to draw this parallel, but I'm about to draw it. Okay? Give me my pen. Give me my paper. I'm making a line. Straight from Finn Shepard, the character in this, to the Tick. Now, follow me on this one here. The Tick, of course, is a superhero. And if you have not watched the animated series or any of the live action iterations of the Tick, what the hell are you doing? Go watch them, especially the animated series. It's brilliant. But the thing is, the Tick doesn't realize that he's an idiot. He's just so bravado and completely unaware of just the stupidity that comes out of his mouth. But he says he's wrong but strong is exactly what the Tick is. The thing is, Finn Shepard is kind of the same way. The things that come out of his mouth make you sit there and go, there's no way a human being actually put that on paper and you said that. But he did, and it works because he says it was like, there's no machismo to this. He's not trying to Schwarzenegger his way through this. Like, it's not tongue-in-cheek, but it's with the confidence that it's so out there that you can't help but smile when you hear these words come out of a human's mouth.
I think you need to give him a little more credit.
No, I'm giving Ian Ziering all the credit in the world because he's playing this almost very tongue-in-cheek, right?
But he's not an idiot.
No.
His character is not.
Finn Shepard is not an idiot, but the script, like the words coming out of his mouth and the situations that he finds himself in, right? That's the thing. The Tick isn't necessarily an idiot. He's wrong but strong, right? He's the right guy to solve the worst situation. yet the situation is absurd in and of itself.
I mean, that's the thing. At no point do I recall in the movies that, they're like, how is this even happening? Like, why is this happening?
Right.
Like, they just kind of accept it that, well, this is our reality. And here we are again, fighting sharks again.
Yeah.
We survived the last time. So
physics be damned, the sharks are back.
Yes.
For no reason whatsoever. It's one of those things where he's just sitting there at the White House going, I can feel these storms now. What? How? Like I know I get a headache when a storm is coming in. That has nothing to do with sharks whatsoever.
At least in Mega Python and the giant Gatorade.
Giant Gatorade. Is that like Debbie Gibson and Tiffany drinking like large colored fluids all day because they're dehydrated in the swamp? Mega Python versus Gatorade. Here we go. The movie we now need. At
least though it made sense how they got that big.
Right?
Like this just how do the sharks get lifted?
If the heat doesn't kill you, the electrolytes will.
It's almost like is there like a specific shark pond that the tornado hits that lifts them, or do they come from outer space?
Here's the interesting thing, and I'm not quite sure. And also, how does the sharks get in outer space, and how do they kill things in outer space? Because they're in outer freaking space. There's no oxygen. Last I heard, sharks do kind of need that occasionally.
And why is it just sharks? Why not like cows?
Right? The octopi are sitting there going, we can do some damage to you now.
They could slap 8 people at the same time.
Yeah, but Whale-nado doesn't sound really all that good. Sharknado. Sharknado's awesome. But
Piranha-nado.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh.
I mean, there are enough piranha-based horror films out there, and I say horror with quotation fingers, really big-ass quotation fingers, but the thing is, jumping into this franchise at movie 3, you're really jumping in right into the deep end without the floaties on. You either sink or you swim. And I'm enjoying the goofiness because it feels like everyone's having fun. You're not going to get this many cameos in a film that's not all about fun. And I kind of feel good about actors jumping into it. Some of these actors have taken on roles where it's like there's a lot going on to it. There's a lot of, deep felt emotions, and, you're dealing with, drugs and death and devastation. And all of a sudden you're like, I have to play a character that gets to run around in a Sharknado? Okay, cool. I can go take a break for a little bit. Like, it feels like a fun franchise to be a part of from an actor's point of view.
Oh, it definitely feels like a who's who.
Mm-hmm.
On the cameo front. And
on the D-list cameo front, mind you.
You're right. Like, with the budget that they had to produce this and the amount of mass destruction of, like, the Universal World Ball went
brought to
rolling.
You by.
Like, they demolished the White House, damn near blew it up. Like, these effects must have cost so much that you could tell that the actors though who signed on for a cameo, no doubt are doing this for a lark.
Well, and that's the thing. It became like one of those weird cultural icon moments kind of thing where it's like it for once the internet was unified in how they were all in shock and awe of what they were watching. I mean, does it make total sense that, a lot of this is based where it is and what's in it? Absolutely, because this was on the Sci-Fi Channel, made for the Sci-Fi Channel, which is owned by NBC Universal. So being at Universal Studios makes sense. The NBC morning show makes sense. It feels like corporate synergy at its best and worst at the same time. But yet it somehow kind of works because it's Sharknado. And even the very name of the franchise, Sharknado, like, you say that to anybody and people are like, pfft.
I love, though, that none of it has to make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Movies should have the ability to do that. That's what a movie is supposed to be about. Put your brain on vacation and escape reality for 2 hours. And that is very much what they did here.
But think about this, right? How many of these types of movies have we covered so far? And you have actors that at one point were, getting major name roles in big budget films, and then they go to an asylum film, and it's like a one-off kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay, it's whatever. Ian Ziering created a character in this that somehow made the franchise lovable enough for 6 installations. And at no point are you sitting there pitying the man for being in 6 Sharknadoes. It's actually a good thing. And he created a character that is fun and interesting to watch. And I say the same thing about Tara Reid, who plays April Wexler, but she's kind of off to the side in this film. But your thoughts on her?
I absolutely thought she's a doll. Like, you know what?
With a robot hand.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Like, clearly, actually, the robot hand comes in handy. If I,
yeah. Wah, wah.
I did.
I can't believe you did that.
Yes.
I thought I was the one with the bad jokes around here.
No.
I just find it interesting because, think about this, right? I understand the idea of, putting April in Orlando, and Finn has to make his way to her in order to get the family back together for a family vacation. It's whatever, right? But having Tara Reid in Universal kind of separates her from really everything, because the action seems to revolve around Finn and around Nova and around Claudia. And she feels like this is Tara Reid as April Wexler already with a robot hand that you can put little like chainsaw attachments to it and whatever. And I get that the character's pregnant in this, right? So I understand if you want to have her off to the side because the character is pregnant, because we can only believe so much in a Sharknado film, and a pregnant woman with a robot hand fighting sharks is maybe not necessarily the maybe that's the line too far. Sharks in space we're fine with, but pregnant women with robot hands fighting sharks.
But she does, though.
Even in
spite of it. Actually, you know what? I liked that they had like both Finn and April in different parts of, I'm guessing, the U.S. at that point, and they have to reconnect.
Well, yeah, because Finn is working his way from Washington, D.C. down to Orlando.
With a trip up to the...
by car.
Outer space.
Oh, no, the outer space was afterwards, though. But first he had to get the fighter jet in order to be able to get back to Florida. And by the way, save the Daytona Speedway along the way. By the way, spoilers like a mofo. And I want to assure everyone, because the things we are saying here sound completely and utterly out there. We are not on anything when we're recording this. These are things that actually happened in the movie. This is not a fever dream episode. But I find it odd that you take arguably the second biggest name, maybe the third if you're going to put David Hasselhoff up there, but the second biggest name and definitely the second most important person in the franchise, and sideline her like that. But it sort of makes sense for the character of where she's at. But it does feel like a sidelining.
I still disagree. I think that she stepped up, and, it was important for her to be there because she's already been through this. She knew exactly what needed to be done.
But she's going to go through it again.
Yeah. And again.
And again. And again.
And here we are again.
Right? Cassie Serbo, who played Nova Clark, obviously making her return to the franchise. Your thoughts on her?
You know what? I don't know, man. She shows up and it's almost kind of like that, ex-girlfriend you just can't get rid of or something. Like there's just that weird sexual tension between her and Finn.
It's funny. And I recognize that the character of Nova was a former employee of Finn's and the restaurant that he owned. So there's a long-lasting friendship here. But I'm going to point this out right now before we actually get to her character. Ryan Newman, now Ryan Whitney, who played Claudia Shepard and took on the role of the daughter. Does she not look like Nova a little bit to make you sit there and think, Wait. Did Finn have the child with Nova as opposed to April?
Things that make you go,
Because Claudia had a little bit of, obviously, the darker hair and whatnot looks a little bit like Nova. And I'm just like, am I missing that? Because again, we jumped into this like later on in the franchise. I'm jumping in and going, wait, what?
Do they show the backstory? Or maybe I've just missed
something. I have
something.
no idea because we didn't watch the first two movies yet. So.
Yeah. We're going to have to double back.
The thing I like about Nova, and this is an interesting take on this, is that you think back to like those like 60s, 70s kind of like badass female, like spy and karate type films, like very kind of like bad films, but badass female films.
Okay, you don't have to like skirt around it. Let's just admit, let's get it out there now. She's hot. She's hot in the black leather suit. There is nothing that she can do wrong. And Finn knows it too. And damn it, I am certain that so does April, because there's always that like...
There's that look.
There is that look. And I'm like, there is no way that April is just like, oh, okay, honey, you're going off to work with her. Well, again.
You went to Washington, D.C., you showed back up with Nova.
Well, exactly, right? Like, what were you doing while I was in... Universal fighting sharks with my one robot hand.
But it's...
And by the way, carting around this kid. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad you said all that. Put it that way.
I say things.
It would sound real bad coming out of me, but I'm glad you said it. But that was the thing though, right? Like sexy women in leather and whatnot with guns and the whole thing and the fast cars. That was like a 70s franchise, right? Like it was those kind of films, and it feels like Nova is based on, or at least what Cassie Serbo is providing for this, based on that kind of badassery, faster pussycat kill kind of vibe, almost kind of like what Tarantino did with Death Proof, like that kind of badassery kind of female from like the 70s kind of thing. It works in this, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just joking. Like, literally, when she shows up, she is such an intricate part of this movie because, again, it's almost like I would give her the brains of the operation if you said that Finn's the idiot, and literally they somehow always win in the end against these sharks. Everybody else around them is dying.
The thing is, it feels like Finn is not necessarily the brains, but definitely the guy with the sense for how to deal with the Sharknado. But Nova pulls off the stuff, right? And the thing is, she's driving around right now in like this armored RV kind of thing, and coming up with a plan and tracking these things and guns ablazing. She's badass in this.
I'm just saying, thank God she's there, because throughout the movies, how many times have Finn or April been eaten by these damn sharks?
Right.
So, we need someone on the outside that can help them get out.
Where is Samuel L. Jackson go? I've had enough with these MF sharks and this MF tornado. But the thing is...
Okay, that would make an excellent cameo. That needs to happen. Dear Asylum.
But the thing is, kind of like how Ian Ziering does this. Cassie Serbo comes in with it to this franchise, knowing that this franchise is completely and utterly off its rocker, but it's fun, and she approaches the role with fun. Like Nova's a fun character to watch because it's so earnest in what she's almost excited to be like shooting machine guns at a Sharknado. It's hilarious, but yet it's fun. Ryan Newman, who played Claudia Shepard, stepping into the role as the daughter of Finn and April and looking suspiciously like Nova. Your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, no teenage girl at Universal, even if you do have the Fast Pass or the VIP service that you can skip the line, no teenage girl is going to go that long without realizing she's lost her cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
That is just not reality.
Breach.
That was so unbelievable. I was just like, I don't care that she's met a guy and she's got VIP doesn't have to wait in the line. If her cell phone was left and she didn't realize that she left it in the locker, that I can't buy it.
It's almost like the cell signal runs through the brain of the teenage girl kind of thing. It's like the further you are away, it's kind of like, when you're out of Bluetooth range, all of a sudden you just disconnect.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm joking aside. I mean, you know what? She's great. Again, it's a little suspicious that, she's got the dark hair when her parents are both clearly blonde.
Right.
But hey, I digress.
There are weirder things that have happened in Sharknado somehow. But the interesting thing is this, I like what Ryan brought to Claudia, because if this is going to be the daughter of Finn and April, who are known for fighting and destroying Sharknadoes and saving the world, you have to think that the spawn of Shepherd will be a little badass herself. And so the fact that she's not running away from these things, she's on the roof of some ride with a shotgun blowing sharks away, but yet the guy that liked her didn't quite make it. But I liked what she brought to this, and I liked the fact that it feels like every film the family gets a little bit bigger going forward. But that's for a few other weeks. But yeah, I like her in this. I thought she was good, and I thought she brought exactly what needed to be brought to the role of Claudia. Frankie Muniz, who played Lucas, this was Nova's assistant in the RV. Your thoughts on him?
Oh my God. Can I spoil it? I know that what I'm going to say next
is like a mofo.
Going to spoil it. Okay. He's hardcore, right? He loses an arm. He keeps going. He loses a leg. He keeps crawling. He loses his other arm. Keeps on going. Another leg. And he's thumping along till he can bash his head into that, red button. Don't hit the red button.
Don't hit the red button.
That's exactly where he's heading. He hits the red button and
oh, he's heading there. I see what you did.
Yeah, he's heading there.
But I mean, let me draw a weird parallel here. Okay. When you see these sharks and they just kind of fly in from the top of the screen only to land on someone and destroy them, it reminds me so much of the Monty Python foot that would come down on and stomp during the cartoons. And maybe that's the purpose. But then you take a look at how Frankie Muniz buys it in this, and it is so the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail. You expect him to be, on top of this RV, minus a few limbs, going, it's just a flesh wound.
Oh my God. You know what? When I said the flying cows, I was thinking Monty Python earlier too.
Fashion lavash! Fashion lavash! Mm-hmm. But again, you have someone who, was pretty big on his TV show and then steps into this franchise knowing that he's there for a short time but a fun time. And it's one of those things where you sit there and point and go, oh my God, it's Frankie Muniz. It's awesome. Frank. Oh, bravo, sir. Bravo.
Not a returning character.
That feels like so many of these cameos. They should put a little super underneath. It's Lou Ferrigno, not a returning character. Chris Jericho, not a returning character. Frankie Muniz, not a returning character. And I'm not going to spoil. Not going to spoil. We got a few weeks to get there, but not going to spoil. Bo Derek. Yeah, Bo Derek, who played Mae Wexler, April's mom in this.
Yeah. You know what? She's strangely almost kind of I don't know. It's almost like, did she miss the other two episodes? She is aware that there's a bit of a shark problem, right? And, she's very much well, where is Finn and why is he not with his pregnant wife? And no, you can't go out chasing sharks. Well,
so this is why you don't like Nova, because you side with the mom.
Oh, and who is she?
Right?
Yeah, no.
Well, also, when they crash landed the fighter jet into Universal, they kind of lost half their clothing as they came out of the water.
Yeah, that was a bit awkward. And, and yet April doesn't like try and grab a shark by the tail and like swing it at him. Like she just accepts everything. Just, okay, it's okay. He's just another day at the office.
I mean, when your robot chainsaw hand has to fight off sharks in a tornado, you kind of accept a lot. And I guess that's one of those things that just comes with the territory. Tell me, though, if I'm off base on this one, because we've watched a few TV shows in our time. And Bo Derek in this, in the role of April's mom, reminded me a little bit of Rebecca De Mornay when she was in Lucifer playing Chloe's mother.
Ah, oh my God, I can see that. Yeah.
But yet the funny thing, too, is Rebecca De Mornay was also in Jessica Jones as Trish Walker's mother.
Ah.
And yet was giving off some of the same vibes. But the thing is, Mom is there to just be the sounding board for April. It feels like they put the mom there just to have these moments where April is almost providing exposition for where they are, because at this point they're April and Finn have remarried. I guess they were separated in the first two, kind of thing.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
that's where the daughter came from.
So you have this ability for April to have her exposition dump, and sometimes you just need a character there as a sounding board for the main character to kind of.
And Mama knows.
Mama knows, absolutely. But Bo Derek was giving me those Rebecca De Mornay vibes, especially from her role in Lucifer. And that's a good thing, because I thought that Rebecca De Mornay was brilliant in that role for just those couple of episodes in Lucifer.
Yeah, I think, it made sense, right? She wanted to take care of her pregnant daughter. And, otherwise, April would have just been pretty much roaming Universal by herself because, she had to be there. It was like, it just made sense to have an addition of another character.
Yeah. It's kind of like every movie or every TV show that has a scene where someone goes to church and they go into confession. They're not there for any real religious purposes. They're there for an exposition dump. They're there to basically prepare you for the next act. And that is kind of what May is here for, to have April exposition dump, backstory dump, and character motivation dump. And that she's the sounding board for that. But it's freaking Bo Derek, so we forgive her for everything. And then you get David freaking Hasselhoff.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
As Colonel Gilbert Grayson Shepard, Finn's dad. Now, I want to put the math out there, okay? Because they come across like a believable father and son combination, right? If this was real life, David Hasselhoff would have had Ian Ziering at 11 years old. There is only an 11-year difference between the two. And yet, Hasselhoff feels much older. But your thoughts on the Hoff?
Oh, my God. You know what? I thought it was so incredibly sweet. Like, he was absolutely perfect right up to the end. And it kind of, his character was so clever and obviously so good at dealing with massive destruction and the situation that they found themselves in, right? Like he had to call back, like he was Air Force he's been here before. So he had some kind of special ops training. So it just made sense. Like Finn's character made so much more sense meeting the dad.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, it has to be one of those things where it just makes sense to see two people on screen that feel legitimately like they could be father and son. I think that works out well. But the nice thing too is that, Ziering has had, a couple movies now to kind of develop this character, to kind of set the tone for the character. So there's a backstory. There's enough storyline to completely and utterly set the character for Hasselhoff to kind of build off of that character. But the other thing too, and there's the level when you get to, right? When you just have to show up and people will be like, "Oh my God, it's him." Hasselhoff is in that moment where he shows up on the screen. It's like, "Oh my God, it's him. It's freaking him. I can't believe Hasselhoff is here." And it's kind of like Shatner at this point. He's achieved William Shatner status where William Shatner can just show up and people smile because it's William Shatner. David Hasselhoff shows up first time in the franchise and people are like, "It's the Hoff. The Hoff is the dad." And it becomes one of those things where you just sit there and you smile because it's Hasselhoff. It works so well for him. And this movie is just so bonkers out there that you sit there and go, there's no one else you'd put in this role. To say that there are a plethora of cameos in this film would be a massive, massive understatement. So I'm going to throw this at you, Carrie, because it's real. If we could be here for about 7 days, if we had to break down every single cameo. So I'm just going to toss it out to you. Like, what were some of your favorite cameos in the whole thing?
More on that later.
Oh,
because I have my absolute favorite, but I can't talk about it just yet. So are we talking in 3? Oh, hell no.
We are only talking about it in 3.
Okay. You know what? Penn and Teller.
Yeah, because that was so out of the blue. Completely out of the blue. You're sitting there and it's like, oh crap, they're having dinner. They're having a dinner diner with Hasselhoff. Why?
Because why not?
Because why not? I'm of two minds in this one here. I mean, having Mark Cuban as the president is kind of funny, even though the lines are completely and utterly written for him and they're cheesy as hell but hilarious. But Lou Ferrigno just seemed like he was having so much fun, like as like a Secret Service bodyguard, and then he just comes up and then like wants to have like a selfie with Finn. And it's just like the most boyish look on Lou Ferrigno's face. I'm just like, oh my God, you're so cute.
Oh, and Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Chris Jericho was fun, yeah.
We can take these sharks, huh? And then, yeah.
And then he didn't take those sharks. No.
Well, he took the shark.
This was actually the final film appearance of Jackie Collins during her cameo before she passed away. And it's one of those things where like I like that she was in there, right? Because it's Jackie frickin' Collins. Why not? And that's the thing, right? There are so many cameos in this film from people who you're like, how the hell did you get in? Like, Michelle Bachmann is in this. Ann Coulter is the vice president. You're sitting there going, how did these people, what? Who approached these people to be in this film? Like, Jericho makes sense. Lou Ferrigno makes sense. Mark Cuban is the president. Actually kind of makes sense. Penn and Teller sitting at a diner. Why not?
I almost wonder if it goes the other way, if the actors contact the asylum and go, I want in.
But you know, that's the thing. That is the weird thing about this entire franchise. You tell me, if you were a celebrity that you wouldn't love just a one day pop on cameo, like how many celebs would do this for free? Because it's Sharknado. It was one of those things where it was the biggest pop culture zeitgeist, so bad it's good moments in a long time. And people were like, I want on the Sharknado train. And then, of course, like it just went downhill from there, right? Because they jumped the shark over and over and over and over again to the point where it's like a leapfrog game. And at that point, the Fonz is sitting there going, I want everyone to apologize, whoever used, jump the shark as a metaphor for going too far.
Would you say that they're beating a dead shark?
Over and over and over again. But the thing is, at this point in the franchise, it's still like one of those, it's like people wanting to be on The Simpsons, right? If you're on The Simpsons, you know you've made it. If your song's been parodied by Weird Al Yankovic, you know you've made it. If you get a cameo in a Sharknado film, guess what? You pretty much made it. And that kind of feels like it. Like, The door's open. It's a party. Come on in. That being said, if you're looking for stellar CGI, you're not in the right place. You're not at the right party. Do you find, and I almost feel like I'm saying this, do you find that the lack of quality shark CGI in this film is a hindrance or a help because of the absurdness of this franchise?
I think it just adds to the charm.
No one sits down for an Asylum film and expects like that Jurassic Park moment. And everyone remembers that Jurassic Park moment. You go to the theaters, you watch Jurassic Park, and those dinosaurs felt real. Everything was so crisp and clear and brilliant and cinematic, and it was so good. Or like going to see Avatar for the first time in the theaters with the 3D, and it's like you're transported to this new world, and it surrounds you in the 3D, and it's awesome. No one's looking at Sharknado for that kind of level of CGI brilliance, but it's almost like a signature. It is. It's that animated cartoon foot in Monty Python that just stomps down on people to end the scene. And there's a charm to it. There's a weird freaking charm. And I think it's so bad that had they actually tried to do good, it would have taken away from it. Like it's the weirdest, because people will sit there on social media and they were like, the CGI looks so bad. Looking at all you Marvel fanboys out there for the last couple of years. And I understand She-Hulk maybe wasn't the best example of it, but these movies exist and people accept it. And that's almost like a signature of the franchise. The worse the shark looks, the better the laugh. And it's contrary to any cinephile's sense of want of perfection in a film, but yet it makes sense to me. Am I broken? I might be broken.
Well, I mean, not just on this account, but
I've been told on numerous occasions. So we'll just chalk this up as further proof that I am indeed broken. All right, before we get to our MVPs for this film, I want to remind you that for the next couple of weeks, we are going to be talking about Sharknado films. So next week, we'll be talking about Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. The following, we'll be talking about Sharknado 5, Global Swarming. And we end off during Shark Week with the last Sharknado. And I do want to point out that August is rolling around very soon, which will mark our 4th anniversary. And there is a Grading on a Curve special coming out on our anniversary week. So be ready, because this is going to be a fun as hell summer right on the show.
Would you say, oh, hell no?
I'd say, oh, hell yes. All right, Carrie, who is your MVP of Sharknado 3? Oh, hell no.
I got to talk about the shark-born baby. Come on. You didn't even give any nod to April, Miss Tara Reid, having a baby in a shark and having it pretty much like having the shark cut open to save the baby. That was incredible.
And then Tara Reid gets crushed by landing space debris.
Well, I mean, spoilers, but we know she's coming back.
Well, yeah, because there's 3 other Sharknado films.
Save the baby.
But tell me the baby's not your MVP.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Well, there are weirder things that have happened in a Sharknado film, so why not? No, I'm sticking to my guns here. I am naming Cassie Serbo as Nova as my MVP of this film.
And the leather.
And no, you know what? I'm voting for the person who went in clearly exhibiting that this script is so absurd but so fun, and literally just living the moment. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for this. And to you, our dear listeners who are now preparing for an entire month's worth of Sharknado, oh my God, you guys are awesome if you're staying tuned in for the entire run. But until next time, you know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is just so bad that there's no way in Universal Orlando that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, remember to subscribe to the webpage so when we put new posts, new episodes up, you get notified in your email immediately. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.